Recently, I saw this going around. A girl posted some clips of Soviet animated princesses smashing things and being rebellious as a reaction to an arranged marriage, stating how seeing these rebellious princesses as role models shaped her character. And I remembered that cartoon from my childhood, and at first I felt what she meant, but then I remembered how it ends. The smashing, revolting princess ended up married all the same. So the only result of her rebellion is that she did so for love, supposedly. Because thinking of it now as an adult, I'm also questioning, was that even love? In my last video on Soviet animation, I looked at working class women and investigating whether the liberation movement really had the interests of women at heart. I discussed how animation itself subtly portrays that liberation only happened on paper. Women were claimed to have access to a career of choice, but in reality they were just burdened with a double shift. If you haven't seen that video, it's linked in the description. And if this kind of thing is your idea of a good time, please consider subscribing. Now, princesses are a totally different slice of society. They have more riches and visibility, but also typically less freedom, because with the status come the limitations. The Soviet Union didn't have any real princesses, so these animations were scripted from older fairy tales, and thus their recurring portrayal as rebellious creatures is a very, very interesting choice. So what was the purpose of that? And did their rebellion actually go anywhere? I went back to rewatch and analyze the animations from that reel, and a few more I remembered as containing rebellious princesses. I also found one I hadn't seen as a child, which I found especially interesting now, maybe because I was watching it for the first time as an adult, but I found that it does something no other Soviet animation does, to my knowledge. It gives a very self-aware take on the entire construction of the fairy tale world. And it kind of reframed all of this princess stuff for me. I'm curious if it will do the same for you. But first, let's set the scene. Welcome to Marginalia. If you're curious about what cinema can tell us about the world and what the world can tell us about cinema, you're in the right place. I'm Christina. My background is in cinematography, and I'm currently doing a master's in cultural studies. So instead of using all those fancy academic concepts to solve the world's problems, I'm using them to understand cinema a little better. What connects all these films is a quest for love. And the question I kept coming back to is that love actually real? And if it isn't, is the rebellion even worth it? Let's start with the flying ship. It begins with Zabava, very unsatisfied with the fact that her father, the king, wants to marry her off to some rich guy. She sets up a condition herself. She will marry the one who builds a flying ship. So supposedly, she has some agency. She can at least make a suggestion for how she is to be given, if not whether she is to be given at all. But the condition is not actually her idea. Vanya, the local pipe cleaner, appears very conveniently in the moment she's angrily smashing things and proclaims his love on first sight without even trying too hard to find the words. She was just stating her wish for an alternative, and here he is. When he suggests the ship thing, she takes it on, trusting that it is something that he can accomplish and free her from this situation that she's in. The visuals are doing a lot of the work here, by the way. We have the king, kind of small and thin, compared to this princess bursting with voluptuous vitality, with all these dresses and hair all around her. He's actually acting very submissive or even fearful in relation to her, yet he still holds the power as the king. Then we have her supposed future husband, Palkan, this round, dark figure. And in contrast, we have the tall, thin, plain Vanya. Must be the guy to root for, because simplicity and sincerity were real values in the Soviet Union, so a simpleton actually automatically signaled, yes, real guy and real love. And although from a contemporary pragmatic stance, I doubt a princess could truly find the pipe cleaner an enticing companion for a very long time, I actually like how these cartoons didn't create a divide between what the privileged and unprivileged deserved, or if they did, you were supposed to trust and root for the unprivileged. When the princess announces her condition, the king turns to Balkan and asks, It's a joke, but it signals evil. In the eyes of the young communist, this character is not honest or worthy because he's not planning to build it out of his own effort. And also, who has the funds for a flying ship off the black market? You capitalist pig. Anyway, Vanya builds the ship with a lot of help from some magical creatures. Then he almost loses it out of his own stupidity, really. Balkan steals it and attempts to murder Vanya. But Vanya is once again saved by his magical friends, and he comes just in time to sneak the princess and board the ship. And so they run, or rather fly away together after some rumble-mumble in the palace. So Vanya wins the fight and gets the prize, although for all we know, she's now a fugitive, having to spend her life with someone she met last Tuesday. It's supposedly a happy ending because it was moved by true love. But is Vanya truly offering her love, or just a more sympathetic version of the same transaction that the villain was offering? There's a very interesting sequence where they show what each character dreams of in parallel and song. The king dreams of his daughter with Balkan, making babies and furthering the riches. Balkan dreams of a wife and babies and status and money. And Zabava and Vanya marrying for love and having a cute little house and children. The irony is, all in all, they all dream of exactly the same thing, within the same set of values. The distinction is only in what matters most to each of them. Even if Vanya's dreams for her is not about status or riches per se, it still is in the competition. It means something if she runs away with him. In fact, Balkan and Vanya are really just relating to each other through this princess. She is not a subject, but merely a narrative function, or plainly put, a reward. She is wanted not for her own sake, but because others want her. Vanya and Balkan are playing the exactly same game, just with different resources. And while she's merely the prize for whoever wins, I think what's most sad is that she dare not dream about something for herself, something outside this system. Now, the Bremen Town Musicians has a nearly identical plot, except there is no promised or planned marriage that we know of. There's also a king and a princess and a hero who comes to town, puts on a show, and when he sees the princess, they immediately fall in love. But here, unlike the flying ship, I actually believed it, because the troubadour character is self-sufficient and accomplished in a way that Vanya wasn't. He has his life and his friends and his music, so the princess is something extra he genuinely dreams of, not a convenient or prestigious reward. We actually have a scene of them falling in love, in this sort of metaphorical fulfillment that both of them experience. We have a dream sequence yet again, and it is finally one of longing for her as a person. He wins the king's approval and gets to marry the princess officially.
Officially?
If you say so.
And then the next day, they run away from the palace together. I think what we're seeing this time is not her simply running away, but leaving. It is a more active choice, because the alternative was truly available to her. And in this act, I think her rebellion succeeds. But I still wonder, why was the official wedding needed? Why the king's approval? Maybe the point is that even real love operates inside the system. Or maybe the point is that it survives it. I actually haven't found an answer for myself for this one, so I'm really curious what you think. But whether love is real or not, why is she always the destination? Always a prize? Why is there always a king and a princess and a hero, and, for example, never a queen? I think we get the answer in the most subversive of these animations, the one I mentioned at the beginning, called The Tale is Tailing in translation, which is also an interesting name choice, as its self-awareness is built right into the title. It's sort of stating up front, yes, the tale will go as the tale has to go. In this one, two young men, not one, set out to save a princess held in a tower by Kashey, the villain. One is the supposed hero, the strong archetypal one, and the other one is just the helper. And yet the helper is doing all the work and eventually getting the reward. See the simpleton energy once again? But the reward, while still embodied as the princess, is for the first time acknowledged as representing something much larger. She represents beauty, which is a collective resource. The tale says that when she was stolen and locked in the castle, beauty disappeared from the world. So our real hero, this helper, keeps saying that she needs to be saved for the sake of the people. The princess is not a person to be loved, but a function to be restored. And I think this is why we never have a queen. If there is no queen, there are officially no more heirs coming. The future now depends entirely on the princess, and whether she marries by love or arrangement, willingly or not, pretty much the same thing is going to happen. The princess is the succession plan, and the tale is telling is just honest enough to say so, and actually voicing that through the villain.
Вот, чудачки, если я тебя мучить не стану, кто же тогда тебя освобождать придет?
He is not threatening the princess. He is stating a logical necessity. Without a villain, there is no hero. Without hero, no rescue. Without rescue, no marriage. And without marriage, the whole machinery stops. Just as a side note, the one thing in this cartoon that didn't sit well with me is this Baba Yaga, which is typically the wild and ungovernable forest witch of Slavic folk tales, is transformed into a sweet babushka and brought into the service of the rescue. She is the only woman in this whole tradition who is genuinely free, and this cartoon, the most self-aware of them, for whatever reason, still couldn't leave her alone. And I think this is where I'll be looking next to find traces of successful rebellion. So, in conclusion, I do not think the rebellious princesses were ever meant to teach us how to rebel. They were meant to teach us what is worth rebelling for, in the hope that we will learn to choose that and even fight for it if needed. But the trap is that that choice was exactly what the system wanted us to choose. And the thing is, it wasn't just doing that for the women, because the system needed all to comply to their roles. The job market hasn't quite known what to do with my degrees in film and culture so far, so I'm trying to build an alternative path here instead. If you'd like to support that experiment, subscribing is one of the best ways to help. Hopefully see you in the next one, and once again, thank you for watching.